Dan Boles has been a James Allen Town Council member for many years. Today, I talk one-on-one with him about what's happening right now on the island for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. James Allen Town Councilman Dan Boles, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Pleasure to be here with you again, Quintin.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. I know that you were elected to James Allen Town Council in 2019 because I interviewed you here on Broad Street for that particular interview. Let me ask you this, Councilman. From 2019 to right now, what is the biggest difference about the town of James Allen?
What is the biggest difference about the town of James Island? Well, I mean, I hate to talk about COVID because we all suffered through that part, so we'll just leave that out, right? Because that did present some interesting meetings and challenges and stuff. But ignoring all of that, we have had some, I would say, modest growth related to small business. We've had some family operated, like a brewery, for instance, that was interested in coming in. So we've had a couple of inquiries with small businesses. We've had the Arts and Cultural Center, which was the former county library, has been open now. There's some art exhibits there. There's some cool stuff going on over there. And, recently there was the convent at the far end of Fort Johnson Road sold. There was a vote at the state house level, I think, and that, I want to say Spencer Wetmore kind of headed that up, buying that. And so there's kind of an eye towards turning that into like park or something, for public access. So we've had some modest growth, I would say. It's been really interesting the last 3 years or so.
Yes, sir. Okay, where exactly has that modest growth been as far as small businesses on the island?
You said where?
Yes,
like location wise?
Yes, sir.
All right, there is a used to be a JIPSD firehouse on Camp Road. Now it's a jiu-jitsu studio. There was some interest from a family also to put like a restaurant and brewery there. I think they wound up going where the jiu-jitsu studio was before, which is on Folly Road, kind of near the Gamecocks bar. What is that? Man, the name escapes me, but it's over there off Folly Road. And then we've had a couple of families in my neighborhood I know have opened up. There's a newer pizza place on Folly Road, Pizza Vola, stuff like that. And mostly, so it's a long way of, I'm a lawyer, right? So I give these like long winding answers, but generally most of the business stuff has been in and around the Folly Road corridor, I would say.
And I want to get back to that in just a second, and you can talk as long as you want. This is Quintin's Close-Ups. But let me talk to you in depth about the James Allen Arts and Cultural Center. How many residents do you expect to visit that particular center in the next 5 years?
Well, they have events there from time to time. So from my observation, and again, this is just anecdotal, right? I'm not keeping close tabs on how many people come and go there. We have a full-time staffer there. She kind of curates things and organizes the events. So there seem to be bursts of activity where there's a lot of folks going for an exhibit, or they've had like classes available to residents there. It'd be hard for me to pinpoint a number exactly that would come through there, but there are kind of peaks and valleys, I guess, where it's kind of preparing for the next thing that's going to happen there, and then that event or that class, happens. And every time I've been there for an event, it's been crowded. Yeah. So seems to be that people like it. It seems to be kind of a hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, how many multidisciplinary classes and programs will it be for the community at the center?
How many, you ask? That's a good question. I mean, we talk about them at our monthly meetings. Okay. I know we just bought some, I know that we bought like a printer for the public, right? It's kind of, in addition to arts and cultural stuff, there is an area for folks who need to do, work or things like that. It's kind of like in the downtime, it can be used almost like a coffee house or a place for folks just to meet. The amount of programs, though, I would be speculating if I said it, but it seems to be we talk about them monthly there. So I'm going to say monthly. There's one or two programs coming through the Arts and Cultural Center.
And Mr. Boles, I don't know if this is even on the radar right now, and it probably is, I'm sure. But how will the town maintain the physical responsibility and the financial sustainability of this center for years to come?
Okay, we have a lease with the county. It's a very generous lease from the county where for very few dollars, I think it's like $1 a year or something like that. We have use of the building, and it's our responsibility to pay for everything. And the town has voted in favor of putting significant sums of money aside. And most recently, we're looking at putting solar panels on top of the building. We had to redo all the AC. We had to do some work on the roof. The town has, been a pretty good steward of that property, which I think without the town, it was in danger of, becoming unusable, I guess I would say. So to answer your question, we put a good amount of money into rehabbing the building, and we have dedicated a good amount of money as well going forward to keep it running and keep it nice and beautiful like it has been.
Now, Mr. Councilman, let me ask you, did the town need to do any renovations to the old county library to make that happen?
Yeah, like I was saying, it had been out of use for a while. So when they put in that new library, down off Grimble, yeah. Which is another beautiful building, but it's kind of outside the municipal boundaries. But that building had sat for a little bit, and the AC was way out of date. There were some other issues that we had to do. It was an expensive undertaking. I can't remember the exact tab off the top of my head, but it was a lot of money for us to repair the building and bring it up to what it is now.
And when you talk about the center, and I know it just recently opened, how will the town outside of the center create public art opportunities, that is, to draw people to the center?
So anyone interested, in using it, they want to do an exhibition, they want to gather there, anybody, within the town or without from the town, because we really look at it like it's an island-wide center, right? I mean, the town is a small part of the island. We just kind of see it like we're stewards of that for the town. So anyone who's interested in using it, they can reach out to town council. There's Nikki Grimble she's the town administrator. As I said, we have full-time staff there, and they seem to be really receptive to letting folks come there, and use it.
Yes, sir. And speaking of the town, Mr. Councilman, let me talk to you about Pinkney Park and the Dock Street Park. How will the town continue to maintain these parks for the community? What will be the revenue stream plan for that?
Well, Mayor Woolsey goes out there all the time on his own and just moves the sprinklers around, does landscaping. He seems to enjoy it. So I guess as long as we have him around, we'll have free labor keeping up the grounds. But that kind of joke aside, we have an annual operating account. We have an annual budget. We receive funds from the county and the state that goes to maintaining Pinkney Park. And, as you know, it's a beautiful park. It's a really great place to visit. And the town, I can't really take a lot of credit for the hands-on stuff that's gone there. They've done a great job at the staff level of creating and maintaining Pinkney Park.
Yes, sir. And you know what? I was on James Island maybe a couple of weeks ago before, I had to go out of town for work. But let me ask you, what's the latest on Brantley Park?
What's the latest? That's it's an interesting phenomenon at Brantley Park, right? Because James Island is there's 4 governments, right, on James Island, and all 4 of them also seem to touch Brantley Park, right? The park is owned by the city of Charleston, but we have a memorandum of understanding with them where the town basically, we're like a tenant, I guess, of it. We pay for the landscaping, we pay for the improvement, if you will, of it. There's a derelict dock over there that we got to deal. We're trying to figure out exactly how to deal with it because docks are super expensive, man. if you have a regular piece of lumber, but then you call it dock lumber, it's immediately more expensive than it would be if you were just building a deck at your house for it. That's what it seems like anyway. We've been talking with an engineering group though, and talks are underway, and funding has been kind of, I guess I would say, earmarked or set aside to improve Brantley Park. Because right now it's just kind of like a passive green space, I would say.
Yeah. So what type of bill have you gotten from the city so far to upkeep this upcoming park, obviously?
One more time. What from the city you said?
Yes, sir. What have you all received the bill thus far from the city for Brantley Park, since you all are going to be basically the tenant?
No bill, really. We bought it together. They put in money, we put in money, and we bought the park from the owner. And we don't. Maybe tenants probably not the exactly correct word. I'm a lawyer. I should know better, right? Use words that don't apply. But there's no rent paid or anything like that. But the understanding is that basically we improve it and maintain it. So like right now, all that we've really been doing is the landscaping. We have periodic landscaping just to keep it, trimmed and looking nice while we figure out how exactly we're going to make it the park, for the public.
How do you make it for the public, the park for the public?
So I didn't know this, right? But there's, we got to put parking there. And whenever you put parking in, then you have to make sure that you are following the ADA, right? You have to give access to people, anyone who has mobility issues. You got to have a sidewalk that, they can get through. If you look at Pinkney Park as the example, there's a parking pad over there with disability access, and the path has to be a certain width and things like that. So, I thought when we got it, we kind of said, why don't we just leave it as a passive area? We'll cut the grass, but just leave it naturally. And turns out that's not, it's not up to snuff. We actually do have to do some improvements to it to make it a true park.
And how much do you all have to pay extra for this parking, for the Brantley Park?
It's expensive. That's all I can tell you. It's expensive. We haven't put the parking in yet because we've been looking at different options and there's concerns too, like, we don't want to have runoff from the street. So do we make it a permeable surface? That's more expensive than an impermeable surface, and stuff like that has been topics that we've kicked around at the council meetings.
And what other topics have you been kicking around at the town council meeting?
What other topics? Well, we always have some pretty colorful residents come out who want to tell us about speeders in their neighborhood. That's that's a monthly issue. A really fascinating thing I think that happened recently was there was a Deputy Richardson apprehended the suspect in the hatchet murder that happened behind Walmart.
Right.
And he's kind of an unsung tale, really, but he was about to finish his shift. I think he was 20 minutes or so away from finishing his shift and going home, and he just saw a guy who kind of looked like he might fit the description. They didn't have a good description of the suspect, and he, rather than packing up and going home, which I don't think anyone would have blamed him for, he stopped and chatted with the gentleman for a little bit, and it unfolded. Basically, he was able to link him to this. And there's also they believe, he's the suspect, of course, and that he's the suspect also in a stabbing that happened out at Folly Beach a week prior.
Right.
And we, in the paper, they talked about the suspect and the victims, but at our last meeting, we were updated by the Island Sheriff's Patrol, which is the Charleston County Sheriff has a kind of a dedicated staff that comes to James Island. They told us about how they found the guy, and quite honestly, if he hadn't done that, they're not sure if they ever would have found him. So that was to me, that was kind of an interesting, topic that we talked about at the town. I mean, and there are also some other ideas going around, just looking at green space and stuff like that. The town's always big into council, I should say, and the town staff is always kind of interested in acquiring green space and, upkeeping the green space that we have.
Now, and I want to talk more about Brantley Park, but I'll get back to that in just a second. But how much green space is left on the town of James Island?
So in the municipality itself, right,
Yeah.
it's almost entirely neighborhoods,
Right.
the municipality. So not a ton. There are, a few undeveloped lots here and there, but not much, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What other ideas do you all have for Brantley Park that is financially common sense to you all?
Well, right now, like I said, the main thing everybody's focused on is that old dock. It's not safe for the public. Please do not go on the
Right.
dock.
Right.
Anybody. We have to, but it's expensive to tear it down, and if we're going to put something else there, it's expensive to rebuild it. And so, the council just tries really hard to be good stewards of residents' money, and
Right.
it's just taken a while.
Wow. Mr. Councilman, let me ask you, how do you accommodate multi-use trails, wildlife areas, and low-impact drainage ideals by creating pockets of interconnected, protected open spaces that allow for interactions with nature?
Right. So you just kind of explain why it's taken so long for us to get this stuff done. There are a lot of issues to tackle: the access, right? The making sure that it's environmentally sustainable, right? We don't want to make a park that's just going to turn into like a situation where road debris and stuff is getting flushed into, like at Brantley Park, for example, there's that creek. So we don't want to have it flushing, pollutants into the creek that wouldn't otherwise be there. So the way you just frame the question is kind of the answer in itself. It's just a lot of things to juggle in order to execute that plan.
Wow. So let me ask you this, Mr. Councilman. What's more important for the town right now? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, and better utilizing the existing homes on the island?
Well, that's tricky, right? There is a strong sentiment, I should say, within the town that further development is not necessarily in the town's best interest or in the island's best interest. And we do have a lot of homes and properties that could be improved. But then you look at Folly Road, and there's Rethink Folly Road, and that whole program with Rethink Folly Road, where it would be nice to have a well-planned commercial corridor of Folly Road that provides bicycle and pedestrian access and stuff. Because right now, you can't walk everywhere up and down. And we have some sidewalk projects that have been underway as well. And like Dills Bluff Road, for instance, they're looking at expanding the sidewalk all the way down Dills Bluff towards North Shore, stuff like that. It's just like everything else in this government world, town government world, is kind of a juggling act, right?
Yeah, right. Let me jump right into Folly Road, because I know there's one issue that many James Island residents really are concerned about right now, and that is development happening on the Folly Road corridor. I know a KFC drive-through was recently voted down by the town's BCA due to traffic and safety concerns. What are the other concerns with this particular potential development?
Well, from what I hear from residents, my own personal perspective is that perhaps we don't want to have Folly Road just turn into like a fast food stretch. It would be nice to have. I used to live, over in Farmfield, closer to Avondale, right? In that 5 Points area over there. It's on a busy stretch of 17, but there is kind of a community feel over there, right? I would like to see something like that, to the extent possible, that people from our town and from the island can come through the neighborhoods, down the sidewalks, and hang out up and down like a community area. And I'm not convinced that putting in a whole bunch of fast food restaurants is going to foster that kind of community feel, right? The drive-through restaurants and things are more about, in and out, and people stay in their cars, and it'd be nice to have something where people are out, and um, you know, I could go on and on about this. So I'll stop it right there and just say that we're not anti KFC or
Right, right,
anti business or anything,
right.
but it'd be nice for us for Folly Road not to just be this doormat that you step over on your way to the beach. It'd be nice for it to be a place people look at as an actual hangout spot and destination.
Yes, sir. So, no Chipotle's coming in anytime soon.
I mean, I haven't heard anything about them. And the weird thing too is if you look at Folly Road, the ownership of Folly Road is a checkerboard,
Right.
right? I mean, we have some of it. The city's got a lot of it. City of Charleston, that is. And then further towards Folly Beach, towards Grimble Road, it becomes unincorporated county out that way. So we happen to have we were a shareholder, a stakeholder rather, with the KFC's application, but other properties they would have to petition a different small government to get there.
And how many of those people have actually petitioned that thus far?
I'm only aware of the one at that lot that we're involved in. In the Rethink Folly Road context, further down Folly Road towards Grimble, I've heard grumblings or rumors about people being interested in putting something in there that would be sort of a community hub or a multi-use, but none of that's substantiated. None of it's in paper. No one has actually applied that I'm aware of it. I'm just ideas, I guess, have been passed around about how it could be used.
Is that logical?
Is it logical again, if they're going to expand multi-use paths down that way and I can get on my bicycle or my golf cart at home and I can ride safely without getting on the road and go visit businesses like that, I would love it. I would love to see that, but I think that's a ways out.
And I know some other issues that are really a concern with many of the residents on the islands, obviously discussion about short-term rentals in the city and in the county. Obviously, there are pros and cons to short-term rentals. How many short-term rentals are there currently on the island?
I guess you could pull up Airbnb on your phone and look and see what is on there. There is a policy within the town related to Airbnbs, and we're a residential area, right? We're a neighborhood. We're a town of neighborhoods, and I think that generally speaking, most neighbors probably are not so in favor of having a lot of Airbnbs on the island. But I know they're out there. If you drive around, James Island's got a ton of detached buildings and mother-in-law suites and stuff behind everybody's house because everyone's got a big yard. Because most of these neighborhoods were built when people had to have septic tanks, so the lot sizes are big,
right.
And they usually come with secondary buildings and stuff that people would like to rent out. I mean, we're not a destination, right? Like the peninsula or like the beach, but we are convenient to those things. And also it's nice and quiet and it's pretty. So I think people use them, think they're out there. I don't, but as far as a count and things like that, how many are there and how active are they? I couldn't tell you.
And I know this might be another tough question that you probably can't answer, but how many resident occupied homes are there when it comes to those short-term rentals?
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. But just because I don't know the answer to the question doesn't mean I can't talk around it for minutes and minutes on end. It's not a gift of being a lawyer. Anecdotally, right, the ones that I've been told of are all owner-occupied properties where they're renting out maybe a room, or they have, like I said, a detached structure that someone can stay in on their own. I'm not aware of any, like in the short-term overlay district in the city, for example, where there are just pure short-term rental properties that have no residents living in them. As far as I know, the town itself, any of those properties are owner-occupied, and they're just extra space that they're renting out.
Now, how many days are allowed for these actual short-term rentals to be rented on the island?
like how many days out of the year can they do it? Is that what
Yes,
you mean?
sir. Yes, sir.
That's a good question. We have an ordinance or a policy on the town website that explains this. I honestly haven't had to dive into that issue, so I don't know that we have a restriction on the time. I think most of the restriction is just that it's owner occupied, and I mean, really, it's like, to me, just be a good neighbor. Don't make your neighbor's experience in their own homes bad, and there really isn't a problem with it, to me. But that goes for everything, right? Not just short-term rentals. Just be a good neighbor, and seems like most folks on the island are.
Yes, sir. And I know, sorry, but this dog is yelling in the background, but and he's passing me by right now. But I know the town of James Island has a unique setup with Charleston County, where the lost funds for the town collects go straight to the James Island Public Service District for fire and solid waste services for the town residents. And I knew the unique setup results in the town paying down the town's residents' James Island Public Service District taxes. How much has that gone to the Public Service District in the past 3 years?
Dude, that issue has occupied a lot of my brain space. We're trying to understand it, which I still don't fully. I got to be honest with you. But you described it as accurately as anybody could. We pay, the town that is, makes a direct annual payment to the PSD, which reduces the town residents' annual payment, right? And hopefully this year on your bill, if you live in the town, you'll see there should be a number that says minus X amount, and then it'll say it's from the town's payment, so that residents can see how much it's paying down their individual bills. It's roughly $1 million a year. I think it's been about 900 something thousand. It has to do with how much we receive in lost funds.
Right.
There's an agreement. There's a cost sharing agreement. Also, it's if you can understand it, you're a smarter guy than I am, because we've had workshops about it. We've had meetings, and really, I just want to be able to tell my neighbors, this is where your money's go. This is how it's being spent, how it's benefiting you. And I'm a little bit closer to being able to do that now, but I'm still hazy on whether it's the best way, to spend the money. But the last 3 years I've been there, we've done it every year.
Wow. So what is the town's current tax millage?
What is our tax? 0.2, I think. We recently had to raise it to
Right.
0.2. It's tied, right, to the county or the state. So periodically we have to raise it. And I think it is 0.2 right now.
Wow. So are there any other municipalities doing this in the Tri-County region, Mr. Boles?
The cost sharing?
Well, as far as the
PSD?
lost funds. Well, that too.
No. We're the only town that can do it, because I believe this was from our workshop, and this is some nerdy stuff. Do you really think people are going to watch this? Up to this point, I feel like everybody's closing my window by now, but since you asked, I'll tell you.
These interviews are part of history now, so they're going to go back 10 years from now and watch this.
Yeah, well, the town, according to the workshop that we had, where we invited the experts to come in and teach us about this, town of James Island is completely within the James Island Public Service District, right, which is a special services district. We're the only municipality that's completely contained within a single public service district, right? So, for example, your fire and water and stuff, if you live in West Ashley or the city, there's crossover, right? You have the St. Andrews Special Service District and things like that. So because the town is completely within the public service district, we're able to pay this amount because it's equal for all residents, right? If for example, part of the town was in a different service district, then that payment would only benefit part of the residents and not the ones who live in the other public service district. But and I believe in the state of South Carolina, we're the only municipality that's wholly within a single public service district. And that's why we're the only town that does this. So I'm told.
Cool. Would you all be in the future? This might be a hypothetical. Be in favor of slightly raising taxes in order to bring in more revenue for the town?
No,
Okay.
town is not, in my opinion,
Yes, sir.
right? The town is not here to tax people. The town is what someone once told me. Small government focus really should be sidewalks, safety, street lights, and sewers. The 4 S's.
Hmm.
And outside of those things, we really don't. We don't need to. No, we don't need to raise taxes for any reason. We're really here just to be good stewards of the area and make it nice for the residents, make it a really nice place to live for everybody, and that's it. And we don't need, or nor are we interested in my opinion, in any taxes against the residents.
Now, do you feel that the tax credit is fair to incorporated parts of the county residents who don't have the ability to annex into the town?
We've talked about that, especially with the unincorporated parts of James Island, obviously, that I think we would likely welcome with open arms if they could, right? But they can't. Annexation is kind of it's a bad word. No matter which way you're going with it, it's kind of a bad word. Nobody likes to hear it. So I wish that we could, welcome them in and share, any of these benefits that we provide for everyone. But as far as I'm told, we can't. And I don't know. Maybe one day that'll change. Right now, we just kind of stuck with the way it is.
And Mr. Councilman, I know you talked about sidewalks and obviously, quality of life issues within the town of James Island. 2023 is coming up. Are you going to reconsider running for town council, or will you run for mayor of James Island?
Oh man, I would not be interested in running for mayor. Running a small business, and I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, the mayor's job, they describe it as part-time, but from my observations, it's a full-time job. We voted to raise the mayor's salary last year, I think, and that won't take effect until 2023. But no, to that council, I might run again for it. I would like to see other residents come out who'd be interested in it. And if it seems like there are some good qualified folks who are interested in being on council, I would happily give them the opportunity to have my chair. If there's not, then I think I would consider doing it again. I've enjoyed it. I like the people.
Yes.
It's really nerdy, to get involved in this kind of stuff. But I find it to be worthwhile. But as I said, it's a service job, right? And if somebody else wants to perform the service and it seems like they're going to try hard and, and they have everyone's best interests at heart, I'd be happy to have them take over.
Yes, sir. And speaking of those quality of life issues, as you know, last week it was raining when I was out of town. In the earlier part of this week, it was raining, that is. How has the town developed, adopted, and actually implemented a drainage master plan in coordination with the adjacent, obviously, jurisdictions in this Tri-County region?
All right. You're really good at asking really complex questions with lots of answers to them. We have a map that shows within the town the drainage basins, right? Because there's high and low points everywhere, right? And so we've had engineers come in and they map out the way water drains throughout the island. And then we have areas or problematic areas, I would say, right? And those are you can just see it. You just walk around after it rains and there's standing water in some places and there's good drainage in other places. There are myriad drainage systems on the island too that don't all work together. The island was developed kind of patchwork, one neighborhood at a time, and and they don't all tie together. So we have been working on tying them all together. We've had to, I mean, we've discovered like pipes and, you know, drainage pipes and things under the ground that no one knew were there, for example, times. And we, so there's that part of it, which is identifying the problem areas, which we have, and then trying to improve the drainage for those areas with existing drainage, and then also putting in new ditches and drains and things like that.
Wow.
And that's a pretty lively topic. I mean, we do work hard at that, and as you've mentioned, you know, it's an issue for James Island.
So where exactly are these new drainage and pipes are going to go on the island?
All over. They're all over the place. And from my perspective, it looks like the new things that we're putting in really are just connectors for the existing drainage.
Makes
so
sense.
It's where it looks like if they were working together, they could work, you know, exponentially, right? It wouldn't be just 1 + 1. I would hope it would really help drain things, making it all work together. And that's where the new stuff has come in. We're not, to my knowledge, putting in huge new ditches or anything, but we're connecting existing drainage basins so that they can help each other.
And what would be the ideal timetable for all of this to be completed?
5 years ago. I mean, everybody wants it done, right? It would be ideal for it to be done. But like I said, we're finding there's stuff that was put in the 60s and 70s that no one knew about, you know, or, you know, we have to get right-of-ways and things like that from residents. That takes a little bit of time. So the timetable is as soon as possible.
Wow.
It's a constant task.
And I tell you, another topic, daunting task for you all is obviously keeping up with growth. How do you keep up with that growth smartly?
Well, the town, luckily, there's not a lot of growth that can happen there. Most of the municipal borders, if you will, are established neighborhoods. They're done.
Yeah.
We have a lot of growth around us.
Sure.
Right. But from my perspective, the sidewalks are really what we're trying to do for providing like resident access to the growth that's happening around us. How do you get from your neighborhood at Lighthouse Point out to the new cool place that we hope is going to go in, you know, closer to Folly Road? We have to link those, just like the drainage kind of thing, right? Within little pockets, there are sidewalks, but they don't all connect everywhere. And so we have been hiring engineers and spending money on connecting those sidewalks, making it so you can walk to the Harris Teeter, right?
Yes.
Or so that you can, like I said, ride your bike out to Folly Road safely.
Or go to Publix.
Go to Publix. Go to the grocery store. I guess I shouldn't like endorse any one of them, right? But so you can get from your house to the cool stuff, you know, on if you wanted to walk or if you want to ride a bike or whatever. That is how we would, I guess, address the growth, is providing the existing residents, you know, easy access and safe access to it.
And I would love to get you back on. Zoom has only given me less than a minute. But James Island Councilman Dan Boles, thank you for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Hey, good to see you, Quintin. Take care.
You. Likewise.